This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. You're listening to Python's Paradise. Welcome. And this is your host, Python Hyena. Real name, Greg Gilbert. And I have a wonderful guest on the phone. We just got done Halloween. Last month I had 8 guests on here, which was a record breaker for me. So we're starting off now on November, and November here in Fredericton is special because we have the Silverwave Film Festival, which started, I believe, if I remember correctly, in 2001. I first attended it in 2002. And I have a guest on the phone, a filmmaker from Prince Edward Island, whom I tried to get on here last year, but weren't able to work anything out then. But we've got her this year. I'm talking about Harmony Wagner, who has a film in the festival this year. And, of course, she had one last year, and we're going to talk about those this evening. How you doing, Harmony?
Doing great, Greg. Python.
Hyena. Python hyena. Two of my favorite animals, roaming, of course, the plains of Africa. But yet we're in Fredericton. Well, you're not in Fredericton. Are you?
Well, it's a podcast, so we could be anywhere, right?
We could be anywhere. We could be anywhere. I'm really glad to get you on here, you know. I've been told you're hard to get hold of. I'm like, oh, I'll get her. She'll come on. I lured you on here.
Pythons have their way.
Pythons have their way. I lured you in.
Well, I don't think I'm hard to get hold of. I mean, I may take a couple days to respond, but yeah, here I am.
Well, I had one of my friends that's involved in the festivals was saying to me, he says, I heard she's hard to get hold of, but he didn't elaborate how he knows this or...
That's terrible. But... Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, I have a lot on the go.
Yeah.
And I try to, you know, sort of not lose sight of, like, staying human in the sight of having a lot on the go. So, yeah, sometimes I do unplug. But I try to be reachable.
Well, they didn't say it in a negative manner. They were just kind of pleased I got somebody from the festival to come on here. You're my most local interview I've had.
Wow, I'm honored.
There you go. Yeah, and now your first film, before we get to the one you've done this year, which is Singing to Myself. Do you sing to yourself?
Doesn't everybody?
Not me. No, but last year you did a film called Kooperman. That was your first film, right?
It was my first feature film, yeah.
So you've done shorts before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to graduate to that feature, isn't it?
It's really different, you know, like when you're making shorts. I mean, filmmaking is hard no matter what. But when you're making shorts, you're always dreaming, excuse me, of like how much more you could do if you had that long-form story arc. A short and a feature are two totally different beasts. When you're making a short, you're really making kind of like a slice of life. Like you have to drop the audience instantaneously into a situation that they can get on board with, and then you have to kind of surprise them within a certain amount of time. And a feature, it's a totally different story because you actually get to grow with a character. So you don't really get to like explore characters deeply in shorts. You explore situations. And yeah, so I think that every filmmaker who's making shorts thinks about, oh, just imagine if I could tell a deeper, richer story where my character can like grow and kind of like, you know, tug on the audience's heartstrings more because you care about them, as opposed to with the short, you're just trying to get people to care about your situation.
Yeah. What's the most difficult part of doing a feature?
Well, I mean, for Canadians, it's, and probably for everybody in the world, it's finding the money. Film is the most expensive art form because you've got collaboration of a bunch of people, and if you're trying to pay them all and feed them all and move them all around, it just and then the technology itself is costly, and so budgets are always like the boring answer, and then beyond that, like if you just have the money, then the hardest part about making a feature is just getting through all the onslaught of it. It's like it's a massive amount of many details that you have to coordinate in a path that take you from an idea in your head all the way to that opening night. And the obstacles in the way of that are many, and there's always like things going wrong that you didn't foresee. So you're always trying to like kind of be like water. You flow through as you hit that like deep abyss that comes out of nowhere in front of you. You got to like flow until it fills up and you can keep going. So it's a lot of problem solving. And that takes energy, a lot of energy, and a lot of collaboration and help. Yeah, great people, and getting a team together that gels really well, and so that you can get the magic is also, I think, something interesting to note, because I see, even big Hollywood films where they had, great writer, great director, great stars, great story, everything's all sort of should be there, but then sometimes the gel doesn't happen, the magic doesn't come together, and it just doesn't quite grab you, So even if you have money, getting that magic to come together is
true.
It's kind of a miracle. Films are miracles, and that I know, like as just an average Jane audience, we forget that when we're watching that. Everything you watch, no matter whether you like it or you don't, it took so much of people's life force and so many, problem solving and so much effort and activity to bring that thing to your eyes that it's kind of amazing that so many get made, really, because you have to be semi-insane to want to do it.
Here's a question. Both your films, were they both shot in Prince Edward Island?
Yeah. So Kooperman was a kind of a raunchy bro comedy, based in a comic book store, and we shot it at Lightning Bolt Comics, which is one of the main comic book shops in Charlottetown, PEI.
Okay.
And with Singing to Myself, we shot in Charlottetown as well as different beautiful various locations on PEI that are just gorgeous, like Thunder Cove and French River.
There's a question I have for you before we examine your films. Like, what made you want to get into filmmaking?
Well, I started off as a performer, as an actor, as a kid.
Okay.
And so it started with that, like being on the other side of the camera and seeing how the whole machine works through that lens.
Okay.
And then I kind of gave up on being an actor because I was hitting my teenage years and the parts got really one-dimensional, and I was just like, I'm not into this anymore. And then I went on to write. I wrote for a children's show that many people love, Big Comfy Couch, and another show that many people have not heard of, which is called Panda Daycare.
Okay.
And so I started off on Big Comfy Couch. I actually started in the art department, and my job was to read the scripts and figure out what the art department needed to build. And so I had to read a lot of scripts, and I was reading them and thinking, you know what, I could do this. So I pitched ideas, and they were accepted, and they took a risk on letting me actually write a script. And then I started getting a lot more scripts because I had just sort of inhaled the reality of the show and sort of, I don't know, enjoyed writing silly things for kids. And after being a writer and being an actor, it's just kind of a natural desire that grows within you to like be the captain of the ship that can steer the story. And I just really like storytelling, and I like visual storytelling. I like telling stories through what we see as opposed to only, just sort of like divulging it through talk. So film allows you that, that real space to express yourself with subtlety through what the audience is seeing as opposed to what the actors are saying.
Did you who was your influence? What filmmakers influenced you?
I don't know. I'm kind of like music. Like I like a wide range of music and film. I've like taken a wide range of film and sort of a cumulative effect of. But I would say that, I definitely have been influenced by like Wes Anderson's films and P.T. Anderson's films.
Oh, those are great.
Though P.T. Anderson's kind of missing the mark last time, but I just think like There Will Be Blood and The Master were really fabulous.
I loved Magnolia and Boogie Nights as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he deserves to miss one here or there after all that goodness.
Well, just look at the performance he got out of Burt Reynolds and Boogie Nights. That was pretty amazing. I love seeing actors step outside of their element.
Yeah.
And he did that even with Adam Sandler with Punch Drunk Love. It's just impressive.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but yeah. So I like risk takers.
In Wes Anderson, the same thing.
Also normalcy. Like they kind of see the weirdness in normalcy, and I like that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Wes Anderson film?
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed Moonrise Kingdom because it was just kind of a fairy tale, but Royal Tenenbaum's got its like little digs under my skin, and I think about that movie a lot. Like I think that's a success if you're a filmmaker, if your film like returns to people's psyche after a while, like busy life, and then they're still thinking about it.
Yeah, I loved Moonrise Kingdom as well, and Grand Budapest Hotel. Why Ralph Fiennes didn't get nominated for an Oscar? I would have put him in there over Bradley Cooper for American Sniper, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't pay attention to the Academy Awards anymore. They lost me when they awarded Sandra Bullock over Precious.
Okay, yeah. The Precious is a great movie, yes, absolutely. You didn't like The Blind Side, huh?
That movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, that hurt to watch.
Oh.
It just felt like, I just saw the wheels turning of like Sandra told everybody that she had made all these millions for that she needed her Oscar now, and they contrived a movie that would be the one.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I don't want to get off topic, but like I remember Julia Roberts. I think she's done some great stuff. Didn't like Erin Brockovich and why she won over Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream. I'll never figure that out.
Oh my God, Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream is absolutely expert performance.
And yet Julia Roberts, and again, nothing against Julia Roberts, but Erin Brockovich, I didn't see Erin Brockovich. I just saw Julia Roberts spouting a bunch of one-liners. That's it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, why do we even care, or why do we even watch it?
Yeah.
With the exception of seeing some fancy dresses or something, but like the whole award ceremony, I think they've made themselves obsolete because it's like no longer, it's just a big Hollywood circle jerk. True. Yeah, and it's no longer in context with what it was originally supposed to be for, Yeah, Aronofsky's films are really amazing too. I love The Black Swan. I thought those
I loved it.
Were just so sophisticated and excellent.
Yep, I agree. But I gotta say, last year I came to the film festival and watched a movie called Kooperman, and I gotta say I was drawn to the premise of the film, and I found the hero of the film of sorts kind of reminded me in a way of Jeff Lebowski in The Big Lebowski, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this guy that works in a comic book store, and it just like Lebowski, everything that can go wrong with him goes wrong, you know, and everything goes, you know, just goes against him. And I thought that movie was very innovative. And for the limited budget you had, you really made good use of locations, and you made an interesting central character there as well. You would talk about that process.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we partially, I mean, as a filmmaker, you have to be strategic and you're like chasing the money, right? So we were chasing a little pot of money that we knew was out there, and we were trying to feed them an idea that they might select over the other people submitting. But also we had to work with, because of our limited budget, we had to work with what our available resources were. And here on PEI, there was a fine actor, Dylan Miller.
Yes.
Who also happens to own and run Lightning Bolt Comics. So that was double good. And he has been in, you know, different web series and theater stuff, but he's never, like, no one ever really, like, put him in the limelight. He always got, like, the extra side character, you know. So Jason Rogerson and I, who co-wrote the script, and he was the producer on Kooperman, you know, we were talking about, you know, what would happen. It'd be interesting, you know, we have all these superhero movies out there that's, like, the zeitgeist of, like, the everything these days that's being made, and wouldn't it be interesting to sort of turn it on its head and instead of a superhero movie, which obviously we can't make here, but, you know, like the people behind that, you know, so like to see the comic book shop owner as the hero of a movie, and then also, wouldn't it be interesting to see Dylan Miller take up the starring role as opposed to always being the supporting role?
What was his reaction to getting this when you approached him?
Well, he was keen. Like, he, you know, I think he recognizes that, you know, he has talent, and, you know, he was excited and I think honored, you know, to be approached. And then I think a little bit scared, you know, of like, oh God, like this is going to be a lot of hard work and, you know, difficult to like fit into his life, and, you know, not an easy role, you know, like there's a lot of challenge and vulnerability in the character as well as being a funny movie, you know. So he is comfortable in the comic setting, you know. He is a part of a group here on PEI called the Pop-A-Lop-Lots, and they do an interactive kind of live theater show. And so, you know, he feels very comfortable in that. But then also Kooperman, on top of being sort of over-the-top comedy, it's, you know, it's a story with like real heart, and it's, you know, he's got his issues with his best friend and his own issues with his like personal fears and how they're holding him back, and, you know, so I think he was excited to, you know, kind of take on everything.
I love the poster where you got him, you could see his backside where he's looking into a mirror, and in the mirror he just sees an image of him all bulked up and a superhero outfit on in the mirror. How did you come up with the image for the poster?
Well, I mean, I think poster image is really important, you know, and so you got to send the message of your story really quickly to the eye that's seeing it. One of the things we have, like, of course, we were examining what are our resources when we're looking at, like, all our disadvantage here on PEI making films. You have to look at what do we have, you know, what's in our corner, and we have a ton of fantastic illustrators and comic book artists. So we approached Jeff Allward, who is stellar, and has a bunch of his own projects and works as a graphic designer for like Upstreet Brewery, and he's just everything I've ever seen him do, it's always good. And so I had the idea of like, let's have, we want to show that setup of, someone looking in the mirror and, like the reality of what they are, and then the, the image of what they're seeing. And we just kind of like told Jeff, this is what I'm thinking, and he did like a pass, and then it was like almost perfect, and I just made a few tweaks, and then it was perfect. And then Jason did the layout to build it all. And the funny part was, by that point we had shot the movie, and so everything was in the can. And Dylan, for the movie, he has long hair, ponytail, beard,
Yeah.
and but he was getting married, and so he had cut his hair, and so we had to seek out a wig to match, to sort of build the ponytail. And we ended up connecting with a woman whose company is called The Wig Lady here on PEI, and she supplies wigs for people who are going through cancer treatment. And so we were very grateful to her for just lending us this wig so we could build that poster.
That was a great poster. And I thought the innovation in the movie was terrific, and I know you mentioned earlier the film was raunchy, and yeah, it was raunchy. And I know one thing that stood out to me was that your father that was involved in the outhouse scene?
Yeah.
How did you talk your dad into that?
It wasn't actually that hard, because basically I had someone else in mind for that role, and he's and that was Will McFadden. And Will McFadden, or Bill McFadden, he's played roles on Just Passing Through, which is another raunchy web series coming out of PEI, and Poggy Beach. And anyway, I thought he would be great for that role. And then, lo and behold, he had a job out west when we would be shooting. And so there was basically like nobody else in the world other than my dad who could play that role here on PEI anyway. Because my father actually is a clown. So literally, he made his living as I grew up as a clown. And, it kind of, as you know from the scene, is a bit of a crazy scene. So I needed someone who could be that kind of over-the-topness. And then when I pitched it to him, I just said, basically, you get what you deserve for all the times you made me pull your finger, and, all the fart jokes you made me sit through growing up. I had to, he had created this brain, and now he had to live with it. And,
of course, one of my favorite jokes of clown, of course, the old pie in the face. And I think you told me last year that you got receiving into that too.
I got a pie in the face?
Didn't you tell me that?
I think I would remember getting a pie in the face.
I've done...
that might have been someone else at the festival.
Oh. Well, but, I've done two charity challenges that involved that, and I had two actresses accept the challenge for suicide depression. And so when you mentioned clown, I was thinking, that just kind of came to my mind.
Wow, that's I don't know if it would cure suicide depression, but it would temporarily
it's to bring awareness. Well, when Robin Williams sadly left us, they did something similar to the Ice Bucket Challenge called Doubtfire Face. Only
right on.
Yeah, only you take a pie in the face instead of dose yourself with ice water. And
nice.
I did this, and I nominated people that I'd interviewed, and I had a Canadian actress who's living in California accept the challenge, and I just had one of the actresses from Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, accept the challenge. And boy, she not only gave a presentation, but she did it with some of the props from the movie.
Cool.
Oh, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a, like it's a clown homage for sure. And it was a part of Big Comfy Couch. I think they tried to have the most epic pie. Maybe that's the movie. Yeah, I think that was in the movie script that has never actually been produced, but they're working on.
So, just in describing the scene in the outhouse, of course, it involves what poor Dylan is in a situation where he has to help your father go to the washroom, and there's just a massive shit scene.
Well, yes, and of course, in the film, he's not my father, right? Like he's basically Kooperman he's desperately needs money, and he's found a way to make some, and it seems like it's going to be easy. And he gets paid, like a ridiculous amount of money to do a simple task, but then it culminates with, and basically the task is take some old people to the beach, and he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be no problem. But then it turns out to be like an ecstasy party for these old guys, and then some. And so, yeah, he has to take this old guy to the bathroom who's tripping on ecstasy and acid, and it just goes downhill from there.
So how hard did your father laugh at that scene, the idea of doing the scene?
Yeah, no, I mean, my dad is definitely like a fart humor kind of guy, so he was totally on board, 100%, and then gave a great performance. And the other thing was that, like, sort of the behind-the-scenes information on that was that we had shot all day, and we only had access to that location for that one day, and so we just had to get this whole scene in the can, pardon the expression. And it was cold, and we had been working all day outside, and everyone was getting kind of, like morale was starting to drop. And my dad was just like stellar. He was so professional and so cheery, and there he was sitting in his underwear. Meanwhile, we're all like shivering in our coats, and he just was great. He just made his positivity spread around the crew and cast, and everyone just like got it done, and it was, so worth it, so hilarious, and it's definitely a scene that you can't unsee, as Jason likes to say. So yeah, it was really important. And then after, we said, okay, cut, and it was like we got what we needed. He ran to the shower and stood in the hot shower just to like regain feeling in all his limbs. And then I realized, oh my God, what have I done to my dad? I'm like so caught up in this movie that I like forgot to like give him a blanket in between takes and stuff. Oh, I can't believe it. Anyway, real trooper. And and then when he was driving home, I was like, oh my goodness, I called to see if he made it home, and he wasn't home yet. And I was like, oh, I think I killed my dad. This is terrible. But he did make it. He was just so cold and, so late and so tired that he just kind of took his time home.
What'd you guys use to make the shit?
Cecily Lalonde is a fabulous sort of all-around person here on PEI. She's worked on tons of web series, and because we don't have a real industry here, like it's a lot of web series because we're still awaiting, like the province to get behind sort of, the necessary financial incentives to make industry happen here. Yeah. But she works on a lot of different stuff around that's getting made on PEI, and she did her research. Like she was so great. Like attention to detail. Like she had different shits for different people, and and then the vomit. Everyone had eaten different things, and she did her research online. Actually on YouTube there's a bunch of people demonstrating different ways to make poop. And then Laura Morgan was another amazing person who worked, and together they came up with their recipe. And I think the different shit components, had different like there was like, I don't know, peanut butter, chocolate, moist toilet paper roll, various things.
The fun of filmmaking.
Consult YouTube for the vast array of options there.
And one other scene that stood out to me, speaking of raunchy, you had the antagonist in the film. They're spying on him, and he's naked in his place. He's trying to get what? Is he trying to give himself a blowjob or something?
Well, people will have to go seek out the movie on Vimeo to find out. It's on Vimeo on demand right now.
All I know is with a friend of mine, and he kind of gives me this look and is like, what are we watching?
But yeah, come on. What man hasn't thought about that?
I have not.
Well, yeah. That scene, I don't know, it was just irresistible. Like, how can you not, when you're trying to build a character that is both like hateable, lovable, ridiculous, full of himself, pathetic, it was just, we couldn't resist.
How hard did the actor laugh when he had to do that?
Well, it was funny because we auditioned different actors, and I was like really frank with all the actors that auditioned. All the actors that I sort of handpicked people to audition for that part, and every actor that I auditioned, I was serious. I thought they could do it, but I needed to see how flexible they were and how would they be able to make that scene funny. And pretty much all of them were like, "What? I can't stretch that much. I'm not that flexible." And we didn't. No one had to be really flexible. It just had to be funny, and so
it was.
it was certainly fun. And Matt Harper, the actor who did end up playing that role, and is so fantastic, and not just like that scene. He's just stellar in the whole movie. Just he nailed it, right? Like he's basically he plays the role of a commercial martial artist who's actually not really any good at what he does, but kind of fakes it through life and acts the tough guy, but is really a big coward on the inside. Kind
of like Diedrich Bader, in Napoleon Dynamite.
So yeah, and I loved that movie, and no doubt that movie's probably got its hooks in me deeper in a subconscious level, because people were like, "Oh, I loved the opening credits of Kooperman. It was so much like Napoleon Dynamite," and I was like, "What?" So I'll have to go back and watch that movie, because obviously I was influenced by it to the point where it was like subconscious. But playing a bad guy that's sort of it can be one-dimensional, and I thought that Matt Harper did a great job to be vulnerable and pathetic and tough all at the same time.
Now, I'm not going to give the ending away to Kooperman, but I gotta say how he ended up prevailing, I thought was a clever plot twist.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was clever. I had to say I applaud that.
Well, and on a sort of meta level, Kooperman is kind of like taking the piss at the whole comedy genre altogether, right? Like comedies tend to be formulaic, and so it was both Jason and I talked about how fun that would be to kind of poke at that algorithm of comedy a little bit. And so as we wrote it, it was like, I can't remember if it was me or him, but we were just like, we've got to take the audience on a ride where they think it's just going down the little comedy tunnel, and then flip it on its butt, and then return it to that sort of nice happy ending that always happens at the end of a comedy.
And it worked. It worked so well. And it's interesting, too, because John Dunsworth, of course, from played Mr. Leahy in the Trailer Park Boys. He was really endorsed this film, did he not?
Well, he was on board to be in it, but at the last minute, complications with the union made it impossible, and he was disappointed. Like he wanted to be a part of it. He was going to play the doctor role, which would have been fabulous, but instead we got Jeremy Ledger, who's also fabulous in his own way, and he of course is the mastermind behind Just Passing Through.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Loved Kooperman, and I gotta say, congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you.
yes, and this year you're back again, and we're going to watch your new movie, Singing to Myself. Now,
Yeah, so
which
Singing
I'm going
to
to see.
Myself
Yeah.
is a totally different kettle of fish altogether. It's a drama. It's a bit of a experimental drama. Like we play with sound, and it's the story of a 20-year-old woman who is deaf, and she's just kind of looking at her options as a millennial and going, you know what, forget about it. And so she decides to sort of opt out of society's expectations on her, and go to university, get in debt, get in a relationship, be stuck and unhappy, and she's just like, you know what, I don't need that. And so she's trying to build contentment from within and just be happy with her sort of silent solitude.
So you could draw a few similarities between Kooperman and this deaf woman.
Yeah, I think I do kind of. I'm intrigued with the notion of loneliness because I think that all humans are lonely, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be going to see this on Sunday night. You're going to be on hand to see that too, right?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to seeing this. When I was looking through the booklet, it was the one film that really, really stood out to me too, and I was like, "Oh, great! Harmony's got another film." And so what?
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Features back to back. I don't know how I did it.
You know what? And I hope you keep at it, and I hope this keeps building for you, where you'll get maybe even a bigger budget and maybe advance even further, because even like you look at somebody like Kevin Smith, you look at Clerks, and it looks like it's so easy to film, and it's yet still one of his best films, and he's done some bigger budget movies.
Oh yeah, well, it was a good script, and
yeah.
Everything starts from a really good script, So I see a lot of big budget stuff moving through Hollywood too fast, and they could have solved so many problems if they just slowed down and fixed the script.
Well, I think you're a better filmmaker than Michael Bay, but don't tell Michael Bay that.
Yeah, so Singing to Myself is going to be at it's the gala film at Silverwave, so it's on Sunday night at 7 o'clock at the Tilly Hall.
Yeah.
And tickets are $9. That's pretty affordable film festival, I gotta say.
Yep. Yeah, and you're going to be on hand. Any of the other people from the film, is your producing partner going to be there?
Yeah, Jason will be there. I don't think the actors will be there. They came to Atlantic Film Festival where it premiered, and we also just had a sold-out screening here in Charlottetown at the Charlottetown Film Festival, and they were there for that. So I think they're kind of maxed out from time they can miss from their daily lives.
Tell me about the two actresses that you got in that film. I noticed there's a picture of two actresses on the picture in the Silverwave booklet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I can tell you that they're both stellar. Just really people to be watched coming out of the Maritime region. I feel like Sophie McLean could be the next Ellen Page. The camera just loves looking at her, and her depth and her sophistication is so beyond her years. So she just turned 19, but she plays the Iris, the young woman. And Then Bridie McLean. They're not related, but they have the same last name, which is common here in PEI.
McLean and McLean.
Bridie is a fantastic actor. She can do anything. She can do theater. She can do comedy. She's part of the Just Passing Through and Pogie Beach team as well. But she can do like really high tone serious theater or totally raunchy comedy. She's fabulous to work with. She just owns the screen. Like they're just so talented, and I feel so lucky as, you know, coming from a place where we don't have this huge industry to get to work with actors of this caliber. I really think they're going places because they deserve it for the caliber of their acting.
Did you find making this film was easier to do than Kooperman because you've made your first film, or did you find bigger challenges with this film?
Well, this film had other challenges just sort of built into it. It was a part of it. Received the 1K Wave Award, which was a challenge put out to Atlantic filmmakers, female filmmakers, to make a feature film in 5 months. So you had to write in a month, shoot in a month, cut in a month, and then it went to post-production house volunteers to like help you, because you were only going to get $1,000 to make this film.
Oh, wow.
And so we made a feature film with $1,000, which is absolutely insane.
That is insane.
So we had, like, the challenges were, you know, had to do with, like, okay, typically, you know, a typical low-budget film, you know, would have, like, 20 days to shoot. Well, Kooperman had 16. And, you know, this was, like, a basically zero-budget film, and we had 7.25 days to get it all in the can. So time was incredibly constrained, and we were moving at the speed of light, so that was, you know, harder in terms of like keeping things, you know, kind of clear in your mind, and like, you know, but I had a stellar team, and I think really that's probably what I do the best, is like recognize an amazing team and put it together. Tess Marie Garneau was the director of photography, and she is unbelievably good. So talented, so knowledgeable, so hardworking. So there's another person that you should keep your eye on, because stellar. And there's hardly any female DOPs, you know, like that. This initiative was put together by Women in Film and Television as a kind of you know, like, let's stop talking about this problem and start doing something about this problem, because the truth is, like, in Canadian film scene, and, you know, like the last time they took the stats, only 17% of the films were directed by women, and if you look at that even deeper, only 4% had a budget of over $1 million. And in order to get a film on television, it has to have at least a budget of 1.25. So what that means is we are 50% of the population, but we're not watching anything made by our own selves.
And it's really hard here, too, because I've interviewed people as far away as Australia and the UK, and I always ask them if they know where I am here in New Brunswick, you know, and the UK nobody has, and the one person I interviewed in Australia didn't know where New Brunswick is, and Los Angeles, it can be hit and miss, more miss than hit, but I find people in the New York and Texas side of things, they tend to be a little more familiar with where I am. And I think it's really unfortunate because when the first Silverwave I went to, Joe Medjuk was here, who of course was producer of Ghostbusters and among other things. And, you know, Tara Spencer-Nairn of Corner Gas showed up. And I would love for Silverwave to get back to being a bigger festival. But I think a lot of the fault is the government, I think it was government cuts or on the industry, and I think that we could have something really brilliant here if we were given a chance to run with the ball.
Well, New Brunswick has a pretty good film industry. I mean, compared to Prince Edward Island, for sure, because you guys still have like some kind of. It's mostly French films, though, right?
There is a large number of French films, and yeah, I agree. We get some talent here, but it would be great to see something from here. I think maybe the closest we have is maybe something the Trailer Park Boys movies or Hobo with a Shotgun, something that got a widespread appeal. Where you got something like, like some of the horror films, like your Halloween or Friday the 13th or Blair Witch Project that gets made not knowing that it's going to be this big thing.
Well, listen, I have a script for you, my man. I went camping at a national park there in New Brunswick.
Okay.
And I was completely inspired. And Jason was there too, and so we co-wrote a treatment for a zombie film to be shot at that national park. It's got everything that script needs. So if you know anyone who wants to make a zombie film in New Brunswick, I got a totally formulated story.
I am going to pass that around. You know what I found out recently, too? That, speaking of Blair Witch Project, Heather Donahue, who played the female lead, is now into growing and I think it's growing and selling medical marijuana. If I got that right, it is on the web page. And I got thinking to myself...
Definitely a growth industry.
What's that? No, it's on the web page, and I got thinking, wouldn't it be funny if the Trailer Park Boys did a movie where they were looking for her out in the woods?
There you go. You get like some cross branding going big time. Those guys should be growing their own medical marijuana and branding that.
Couldn't you imagine if they found her and like she made them stand in the corner and you could hear Ricky like swearing? Like that'd be a great movie. But no, I think this industry could be growing bigger and bigger. And kudos to the NB Film Co-op. I think they're doing a stellar job.
They are fantastic.
Yeah.
They really have something, that we from PEI, we look over there and we go, wow, those guys are really, working with what they have, but taking it to the, the highest caliber. You guys should be proud of Silverwave. It's a fantastic festival, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. To be placed as the final film of the festival is just, such an honor, and especially considering that I know lots of people apply, and probably lots of projects had way more money than we did. So we're excited to come over and contribute to that groundswell of Maritimers making films.
Well, I'm going to. So your next project's going to be a zombie film?
Well, I have a zombie film that it's like, I don't know if I want to be the director. I think that it should be someone who's, gonna want to do all that gore.
Well, Night of the Living Dead kind of was done on like a shoestring budget back in 1968, and look where zombies are now. And
yeah, and I mean, maybe zombies are done. Like Walking Dead is sort of maybe taking it to the end, and zombies couldn't be killed before. It was just sort of like there was a never-ending hunger for zombie films, but maybe it's kind of played out. But speaking of zombies, I have to go. I think my voice is really given out on me, and you can hear I've got a chest cold, and I don't want to overmax. I've got to talk all day tomorrow, and so I better cap it.
Well, you know
there. What? But what my next film is, I'm not sure. I know there's some talk of a big comfy couch feature, and certainly I'm trying to make things here on PEI. It's something happened here on PEI, it'd be great if it was a TV series so that people could work for several seasons, so that's a goal of mine. My other big news is Queen of the Crows, which was my second short.
Okay.
It went to Cannes Film Festival with a delegation of Canadian films brought by a sort of a juried selection process that brought certain films from Canada to Cannes through Telefilm Canada. And then it's been turned into a young adult novel, and that's about to come out. Have our book launch here in Charlottetown on November 18th. I'm really excited because it was so cool. It's so backwards to usually books are turned into movies, but I made a little movie, and then the publisher approached me and said, hey, would you like to make this into a book? And being a published author was definitely on my bucket list. So I said yes, and then I really enjoyed how different the writing process is because, well, one, you don't have to herd a bunch of cats and worry about whether it's going to rain or not. You just tell your story. But it was also sort of intimidating because you can't just show stuff. You've got to describe it in words, So I really enjoyed the switch over of taking a movie and turning it into a book. So yeah, Queen of the Crows is going to be hopefully somewhere in a bookshop near you.
Oh, perfect. Well, you know what? Eventually, I'm going to. This interview right now is number 59 for me, and I've still got a few interviews I have not aired yet that are going to be in front of you. But when this does air, I will send you the link, and you can put it on whatever social media or web page that you have.
Wonderful.
Okay. Now, eventually, what's going to happen? It's going to end up, it'll be probably next year, it's going to end up on my YouTube page, which will hopefully generate more hits for you. And what I generally do is I'll have, along with the audio, I'll have headshots and posters from your movies and whatnot to go along with it. I have your permission to use those, right?
Well, I'll send you something you can put up if you'd like.
Sure, if you can, yeah. And my brother is the one that organizes them, and right now I've got 28 of my interviews up on my YouTube page, and I put one up a week, and you're number 59, so won't be up there for a while, but you will. You'll be linked on the CHSR here first. And
great. Well,
yeah.
Thanks so much.
No. Yeah.
I appreciate your interest and your passion about film, not just the Hollywood stuff, but the people who are sweating it out in the trenches here in the Maritimes.
Well, I'd like to see the Maritimes get a little more recognition. That's why when I do my interview, you'll notice if you've heard any of my other interview, I always ask them if they know where we are in New Brunswick, because it's almost like nobody knows, but there are a few that do know.
Or they're lying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Greg. I appreciate all that you're doing. And
before you go, would you do a plug for my show?
What do you want?
Just state your name, and say you're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert in New Brunswick, Canada.
You want this sultry Demi Moore voice, don't you?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm ready.
Go.
Hey, this is Harmony Wagner, and you're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert from New Brunswick, Canada.
Thank you so much, Harmony Wagner. It's an honor to have you on here. I will see you Sunday night for Singing to Myself. And I hope to see you, and we'll chat there at the gala party. And I wish you the best in the future. And I really, I can't wait to see what's in the future for you and what you're doing film-wise.
Thank you so much. I'll see you on Sunday. It's going to be soon. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, and good luck to you in the future.
Thanks. You too, Greg.
Okay. Bye-bye.